Good morning, Rémi. Thank you for stepping in. Thank you for, it was a last minute call and you very gently join us. So we'll leave you in the hands of Richard to talk about Oreca.
Thank you, Francisque, and good morning, good afternoon to all. And hello, Richard. Nice to be here.
Well, thank you for joining us last minute. Appreciate the substitution. And I know Francis went a little bit over your resume, but is there anything that you'd like to fill in in terms of your history in motorsport?
I think first it's fair to say that I spent quite a lot of my time in the Formula One world for somehow like 20 years, but since I met with Hugues de Chonac and I started my let's say the second part of my life in motorsport, and I am now 2 years into Oreca, and a lot has been going on with Hugues and basically Oreca. You cannot separate Hugues and Oreca, and I will be happy to share all of this.
Excellent. Well, give me it's a very interesting time in the world of sports car racing. The top tiers are changing rapidly. Give us kind of the overview of Oreca and everything it's got going on right now.
Yeah, I have to say it's quite a long time for Oreca. It's 50 years, as I remember. Hugues is actually having the 50 years of his company this year. So quite a tremendous journey to now. But it's clear that since now 2 or 3 years, Hugues has been looking into the future of Oreca, trying to always reinvent. And what has been done since is making sure we keep developing the company, but also to follow up on what's going around. And you've been mentioning with the rest of the field that there was quite a big push on the IMSA side. There is also push on the Europe new categories. We can see LMDH, we can see sports cars, LMP2. We also have tried to make sure we get involved in all this new series to make sure we participate, and obviously we always try to win, because the aim at Oreca when we do something is to be the best. So quite a full project, and obviously there are also the new technology, but also the new energies that we're also looking at, and maybe we will have time to discuss it. But definitively there is a lot to come in motorsport. I can see there is not only one solution now, quite a lot, and it's up to us, as already mentioned, to develop them as quick as we may, so we can afford that to customers, to spectators.
So Oreca has partnered with a variety of OEMs over the years to build race cars with under their brand. Notably the Acura ARX 06 that will be familiar to IMSA fans. Tell me a little bit about how closely you work with the manufacturer, and talk about the various roles for the manufacturer side and from Oreca's side.
Okay, so I think we first need to rewind a little bit, and Oreca has been doing a lot of races and racing as being a team, so winning races. And at some point, something like 15 years ago, you guys decided, oh, maybe we should also try to do our own cars and win with them. And this has all started this LMP2 and the widely known Oreca 07, which basically has made the job to also demonstrate that Oreca is not only capable of racing and winning races with cars, but also with their designing their proper cars. And I have to say, the link to the manufacturers is all credit to Oreca being able to develop a car and make definitively sure that we are a good partner. And when we got onto switching to a new regulation like LMDH, it has become clear to manufacturer that the LMP2s that Oreca has produced, and now we would be able to supply them was key to partnering with you mentioned the RAX from Acura, partnering with Honda, and also now partnering with Renault Alpine, and this was definitively based on the know-how that we showed outside on track. So that's basically where we came from, and why the manufacturer is also liking to work with a company like Oreca is still the way that we do develop. We can develop quickly. We are smart. We can basically maybe make things that become maybe impossible to the biggest one than what we are. So we basically are not doing the same thing, and we're partnering to try to get the most out of both worlds. So that's what makes it very interesting.
Well, as you mentioned, much of that was built off the LMP2 program in the 07. It's kind of become the LMP2 car in a variety of series worldwide. What do you attribute that to in terms of the success of that chassis?
I think that chassis has been made in 2 or 3 steps, but definitively there was with the 05 a very good baseline, and I have to say when we went up to the 07, everything was all about making sure we get the most out of everything. So sometimes it can feel like, wow, we're gonna have to brake late, but this one was really braking as late as we could on every part of the car. So I have to say, it's like everything Oreca does. We try to go as far as we may into getting most out of the performance, and sometimes it creates problems, but we like to solve these problems. So we prefer to have a quick car that we have to fix rather than the opposite.
Okay, is the changing landscape? Obviously, LMP2 won't be part of WEC next year, but there's still a lot of places that LMP2 can compete. IMSA for one, European Le Mans. How many cars are out there now, and how many? Do you expect to add to that, or will everything kind of stall until the next set of regulations comes out?
It's fair to say that there's quite a lot out there, since we are the only one to sell LMP2s these days. We have gone over 120 cars since the beginning all over the world. And you mentioned the WEC that we will unfortunately be out of, but for other goods. But we still have ELMS, where we have quite a lot of cars, but we also keep on developing LMP2 in the US with IMSA, with John, where we try and promote a lot LMP2 and sports cars. And we also, as Oreca, trying to bring even more services into the US, and we are actually reinstating our company in the US. So we will have very soon Oreca North America that we will run our operation from. So not only for LMP2 in IMSA, but as you know, we also have developed the GT3 for Ferrari, so which is also racing in IMSA, and we will actually make this operation from there. So it's a slow beginning from the end of the year, but the real focus is by the end of next year we are fully operational, and we can actually have even a better services to our US customers.
Well, what is the role once you've sold the car? What is the role of Oreca in supporting the race teams both on the LMP2 side and LMDH?
I have to say, it's whether we get the LMP2 where we actually design the car and produce it because it's our own car. When we get to LMDH, it's a bit different. There is more of a relation with the manufacturer. But in the end, when we have produced the car, when we design it, develop it, validate it comes to the same world where we go into after sales, and the main, which is maybe a place where Oreca is even better, is placing services, is putting services for the customers, which means making sure that we've got the best services for spare parts, for technical assistance onto the track. So we're now growing up to a very high rate in how many people we get involved into after sales program, whether it is for LMDH, LMP2, or GT3. And this is one. Not only you need to have the best car, but you also need to have the, let's say, the best customers. But the best customers for me are the happy customers, and that's where we make the most of the focus, especially looking at the LMP2.
Well, you mentioned the a U.S. base. Where will that be, and what's kind of the role of having a remote, a remote base in the U.S.?
Yeah, the localization we choose is Indianapolis. I think there is 2 or 3 spots in the US, so you have to choose between these 2 or 3, and we've chosen Indianapolis. And the main starting point for us is to operate our categories, mainly obviously LMP2, LMDH for Acura, and GT3 from the US, because what we do these days is we travel back and forth with the European guys, and we felt that it's now a time for us, looking at the number of programs we've got, to reinstate this base in the US, so we get more link to the US teams. Basically, you're living at the same time, you're living the same thing, same country, and it's putting us onto a different dimension.
Okay, with the Ferrari, it's not the first time that you've been involved in a GT program, but it is the first time in a while, at least into that level of involvement. What's kind of different in developing, taking a road car and developing a GT3 car versus building a race car from scratch?
I think the main, if you look at our programs, and you mentioning GT3 with Ferrari, that I could not thank enough for having trust us, and we see the result now is basically the magnitude of the program. Because just to give you a few numbers, we say we have built more than 100 LMP2s in somehow 7-8 years. And we already have 100 GT3 cars in a bit more than a year. So it's a different dimension in the way that we also have had to put up the structure to get maybe on a more industrial side of motorsport, being able to build 6 cars a month, for example. It's implying a different structure, but what we also try to do is we keep the DNA of our cars. And basically the GT3 that we've produced is, someone would say, it looks like a proto. We discuss about technology, how we promote it. I think what was behind this GT3 is the fact that we, as Oreca, gathered everything we knew about race cars, and we tried to fit everything we could into a GT3. Even if we thought, oh, maybe this is too high for, we actually did not discount it. We just say we always do, and we have to make the best car out there. So that was quite the exercise when we designed it. But I have to say, maybe it was the easiest part. Now we have to produce the car, we have to get everything to the customers, we have to build the services around, and it's a worldwide services. So as we always say, we learn every day, and we try to make sure we go as quick as possible.
When Ferrari introduced the 296 GT3, they were, I know, fairly inundated with requests for cars, and said they would likely have more customers than they would be able to than the would-be cars. Talk about the race car approach to building a GT3 car. One of the things they touted was kind of the modularity of the car, and the fact that it was that made it easier to repair. I mean, is that kind of where that comes from in terms of taking a more race car purpose-built chassis approach to GT3?
I think you mentioned quite a few of it, but it's clear that when we have been used to design proto for a few years now. Then so when you start thinking about a GT3, you start saying, okay, I will try and make it, because the thing of Oreca is trying to make the best car, but it's not only the best car out there on track, it's also the best car in the pit lane, the best car for the driver, the best car for the team. So we have looked at every single details that make a team to win a race, which is not only on track. And what we also try to make possible is one of the big difference to a proto. We come from an aluminum chassis, which is the chassis from the series cars, that you need to work on as you would do for the proto with a carbon chassis that is obviously much stiffer. But in somehow we succeeded to make all this bodywork that fits and is easy to remove and get on and to work, and because working on a car is very important in endurance racing when you can't afford to lose too much time. So this was the challenge. It was to try and transfer the technology we had on the LMP2, for example, or LMDH, onto a GT3.
Okay. Is, you know, one of the challenges in working with different manufacturers is, you know, you're developing with Ferrari a GT3 car that will go head to head with Acura's GT3 car, which is also a partner. Is there, how do you avoid creating friction between manufacturers that are competing on track that you're working with?
I think first is the trust you get from your partners, from your customers. You can even mention our LMDH program, where we started to work with Acura and then move on to Alpine. It's even, I would say, you could say, more difficult, because it's the base, the spine is the same, and then you work out the car for either Acura or Alpine. But we actually did not really have problem with that, and I have to be fair to Acura and Alpine. They never really mentioned, you know, are you doing this or this? It's just the trust. But of course, when it comes to us working to this to, for example, customers, you have to have, I would not say Chinese wall, but that's the way we work. We make sure there is a division, a separation in between, and that's how we did operate. And when we talk about GT3, okay, you could argue that there could be a bit of a transfer, but again, our partners and our customers come to us because they trust us, and they trust we will be doing the best car for them. So I think it's enough so that we can work easily with all of them.
Understood. Is back to LMP2, there's you know, we're at some point going to have a new set of regulations for LMP2. That kind of keeps getting pushed back down the road. Is how prepared is Oreca, you know, once that, you know, they say, okay, here's the regulations, and here's, you know, we're going to start racing this car in 2026, for example. How quickly can Oreca have a chassis?
I have to say, when we say how quickly, it would take a year somehow, if I would take a bet. But the one thing we're trying to make with this new LMP2 is to start as quickly as possible. We wish to, as you say, we wish to make sure we have the right regs on, and actually the definitive one, so that we can start on, because there is a real emphasis on cost efficiency for that program. So time is cost, and we need to get on board very soon. So maybe we'll take a bit more time than normal, but for it's ready for the sake of having the right car for the right category for the customers. So in short, we have already started into looking into the next LMP2, and next year will be the key year for us.
Okay. Well, given Oreca's involvement at kind of every level of sports car racing now, how do you see the sports car racing landscape as it's evolving? I mean, we've got full fields, both IMSA and WEC are looking at turning people away. Where do you see kind of the current state of sports car racing in the broader sense?
I think as you mentioned, we've got quite a good field or full field of race cars, and this is the real representation of how healthy is the business, and how the decision made a few years ago I've brought fruit, and that's the like of whether it is GT3, LMDH, whether it is in the US or in the Europe. Every single program that has been launched has touched the real success. So what I would say is it's already the time to think about what's going to be in 4 or 5 years. And you're right to ask this question, because we need to make sure we get the time. And I have to say that one of the question will always be technology, but I think we more discuss this day about energies, what energy we wish to be using onto race car, because we've seen coming from ICE to hybrid to some thinking about full electric. But in the end, what matters is we have the right product for the right category for the customers. And for me, the main thing we need now to work on is energies. Whether we find the right energy, because you could have said we won't have the type of car we've got now in 5 years' time, but I would actually put technology aside at some point. It's really a matter of what sort of energy, because in the end we also have to be responsible, and we have to think about what's good. And I think there is quite a few subject out there, and that's I think the singularity of our business these days. There is not only one solution, which was maybe before 20 years time very easy, because you would choose very easily for a categories. Now you have a variety of solutions that you could apply to motorsport. But I would say the one thing you should not forget is the end customers, because we also need to satisfy that. And if I would definitively, if I have to take a bet, it's not an easy bet, but I think we'll have more than one project we all discussed about. For example, hydrogen, that could be an energy for the future. So we're working on that. You have to make sure you can, I would say, digest this new energy, so that we don't, excuse me for this word, but so we do not design ugly racing cars. We want to keep designing nice racing cars that eventually make some noise. And I think we are all trying to find the right balance, and making the most out of technology and energy we see out there, because the best thing that motorsport is capable of doing is go quicker than anyone else on Earth. So I'm pretty sure when we have this all decided what we have to do, we will be the quickest, and we will make it happen. So I would maybe finish on that one. We need to keep being the best at delivering product to the track and making the customers and the teams happy.
All right. Well, as you said, that's probably a good spot to finish. I believe we are out of time. So thank you very much. Is there anything you'd like to add about what's in Oreca's future?
I have to say, maybe you did not hear surrounding me some noises, but future for us is our new facilities that we are delivering end of this year, so we can keep developing our Oreca and prepare the next 50 years. And obviously, as I mentioned, you will be watching us on track, and there will be quite a few Oreca design cars out there in 24. And as always, try to be at our best and make our teams and customers happy.
All right. Well, thank you. And thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Rémi. And one thing that's important that maybe hasn't been shared on the interview, because Oreca is such a large company covering so many aspects. I remember the days, when it was a small little race team competing in open wheels in France, and now it's this not only this manufacturers of race car and engine builder, they have a distributor. It's like one of the biggest distributor of engine parts all across Europe, and it's a fascinating company, privately owned, which is very important in today's world, especially in our industry. So thank you, Rémi, for stepping in for Hugues. Again, sorry, Hugues was very sorry he had this last minute trip that couldn't be rescheduled. But Rémi, you did a wonderful job. Merci.
Registering on Epartrade is easy. To start, click on the Join for Free button on the homepage. First, search your company to see if it's already in our database. If you see your company on the list, click on it to select it. Then, choose Claim Company if you are one of the decision makers, an owner, marketing person, or main company contact. Or choose Join Company if you are an employee, and press Continue. If you couldn't find your company in our database, select Register a New Company. On the following page, fill out your name, email, phone number, job title, and choose a secure password. If you chose Register a New Company, you'll need to choose your business type. Select Supplier if you're looking to display products or services and connect with buyers. Choose Racing Business if you're looking to source new parts and connect with suppliers. Choose Race Team if you own or are a member of a professional race team. Then, enter your company name. Please provide a website, Facebook page, or LinkedIn if you have one, and choose to either claim or join the company. You can view and agree to our terms of use here. If you'd like to receive our weekly newsletter, choose Accept. Finally, click Register Now and your registration will be submitted for approval. An email will be sent to your inbox. Please confirm your email address and you will be approved shortly. Welcome to Epartrade.